Hey guys, it's Emily and welcome to a new Twisted Tale reading vlog. So this is my third episode, I think, in my Twisted Tale catch-up series in which I try to read all of the books in the Twisted Tale series. So for this one, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm going to be reading a Cinderella retelling, and it is So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. I am very excited to get to this one because I've heard nothing but incredible things about it. I know it's a lot of people's favorite book in the Twisted Tale series so far, so I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I have read Reflection not so long ago, and I did really like it, so I am looking forward to reading her take on Cinderella. This one is What If Cinderella Never Tried on the Glass Slipper, so that should be interesting. Now, for this episode, I didn't want to just be reading So This Is Love. I also wanted to read other Cinderella retellings because I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but even though Cinderella is not one of my favorite Disney movies, I did like it as a kid and I still do like it now, but Cinderella never was one of my favorite princesses. However, it is one of my favorite fairy tales to see retold. I don't know if it's the fact that it doesn't have that much magic into it, which means that it can easily be a fantasy story, but it can also be in a contemporary setting. I feel like it's a very versatile story, and so I love seeing it retold, and I've read and seen a lot of adaptations and have enjoyed pretty much all of them. So I thought that for this reading vlog, I was also going to include other Cinderella retellings that I thought would be fun to read. So I have two books. One of them is a contemporary and then the other one is a fantasy. So first I have The Blood Spell by C.J. Redwine. This is a Cinderella retelling, and this one is more like a fantasy story. It is the fourth book, I think, in the Ravenspire series. It's a series of fairy tale retellings that are all set in the same world. I think they're all companion novels, so you don't have to read them in order because I haven't read any of the other books in the series, but I know that Emma and Monica really liked this book, and they said that you didn't have to have read the rest of the series in order to read this one. And I've been told that it's a very cozy story, so I'm excited. And then I also have an arc of If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This is an adult romance. It's Disney's first published adult romance, and it's the first in a series of modern fairy tale retellings that are going to be published by Disney. This book comes out on August 3rd, so I don't know by the time this video goes up if it'll be out already. I'm very excited because I think it takes place in like the fashion world. I think Cinderella, or like her family, works in fashion, and Cinderella is plus sized in this one, and that's pretty much what I know, but I'm very much looking forward to it. And that's my TBR for this reading vlog. I am super excited. I hope you guys are too, and I'll be leaving the links to all of the books in the description box down below, as well as timestamps, so if you want to jump around and jump to a certain book, you totally can. But I think to kick off this vlog, I'm going to be reading The Blood Spell by C.J. Redwine. I have been kind of in a fall mood, like I'm very excited to start filming my fall content. I have a whole list planned already. But not only that, but I feel like fall is coming. I can sense it. I don't know, like the weather's been very like fall-like lately, and I've been feeling kind of cozy and like wanting to like put on my sweaters, and like, I don't know, I've been wanting to have like fall moments, but it's still like the middle of summer. So I think this book is going to give me the cozy vibes that I'm looking for. Currently on page 100 of The Blood Spell, and to be honest, I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet. It's a very slow book. I'm 100 pages in and not much has really happened. We've been mostly setting up the scene, and to be honest, I don't really see the similarities between this book and the Cinderella tale. I can see some things and some resemblance, but so far the book has been mostly about a main character, Blue, who is kind of a witch. Like, she's able to do magic, but magic is kind of forbidden in this world, and so she's been hiding the fact that she's able to do magic. We also follow this prince who comes back from like his boarding school and whatever, and now he has to marry someone, and Blue and the prince know each other. They have been kind of raised together because the prince's father used to be a very close friend to like Blue's father. Blue's father used to be the king's tutor, which is why they kind of grew up together. As I was saying, I don't really see this resemblance between this book and Cinderella. Like, I have seen a couple of similarities, like the fact that there's a ball that's going to be happening and the prince has to find a wife, kind of like in Cinderella. But as far as like Blue's character goes, I don't really see the similarity between between that and Cinderella, though I'll be honest, like Blue's father just died. This is not really a spoiler because I feel like this is kind of a given in the Cinderella fairy tale. 100 pages in and he just died. So I'm guessing like from this point moving forward, that's probably where I'll start seeing more similarities, though I can already predict kind of how it's going to take shape, but I haven't really seen it in action yet. I am really interested in like the world, and I do like the book so far, but I do feel like it's very slow moving, and I was kind of hoping I'd be already into the action. Like so far I'm not even able to give you a plot for this book because I don't know where things are going to go from here. Like I just have a feeling that obviously the prince and Blue are going to end up together somehow. It's kind of an enemies to lovers situation, which I forgot to mention, but I really love the tension and like the banter between the both of them. They really just cannot stand one another, and it's fun to see. And like there was this kind of excerpt at the very beginning of the book, like 3 paragraphs, but there was so much tension and I was like, oh my god, I am going to be living for this. I have hope that I will like it. Like so far I like the world that it's set in. I do really like the prince. Blue, she's fine, but the prince I really like. Alright, so time for a reading update. I am currently on page 226 of The Blood Spell, which means that I'm a little bit over halfway through. And you know how I was saying before that I didn't see the connection between this book and Cinderella? Well, now everything makes sense. That's because basically like 10 pages after my last update, everything came into place. All of the pieces were put together to turn this into a Cinderella retelling. Yeah, I guess I should have waited before I said that, but it took a while before it got there though, so like keep that in mind. But now it is very obviously a Cinderella retelling. Like there are so many elements that make this a Cinderella retelling now. Like there is a stepsisters, the fact that she's living with her evil stepmother, and you know there's a lot of aspects that you know are kind of bases, like basics in Cinderella that are now in place in this one. The main difference though is that Cinderella, or in this case Blue, and the prince know each other, whereas in the tale they don't. And I love Kellen, the prince, and Blue's relationship. It's actually my favorite part of this book. It's like their romance, or just like their relationship. There's kind of like an enemies to lovers, but it's also kind of friends to lovers, and there's this like will they, won't they kind of situation going on, and like the tension is killing me, and I am very excited for them to get together already. This is by far my favorite thing about this book. Other than that, like yes, I like the world building, but I don't really have a strong connection to any of the characters, including Blue, and like the prince remains my favorite character. I don't know, I like the world it is to set in, but I don't feel like the plot is strong enough. Like everything is super slow moving, and I feel like way too many things are happening right now, and like the Cinderella aspect of things is kind of like on the back burner, and like this other plot line that's like the main event that is happening in the book, and I don't really care for it, to be honest. Like I would much rather read about the romance part of things. Other than that, like it's still an enjoyable story. I do like the writing style and I like where this is going. I kind of want a little bit more action because I'm someone who enjoys action-packed stories, especially in fantasy, and in this case it's like very slow and I feel like we take ages to get to the point. So it's been a while since I filmed anything for this reading vlog. It's been a couple of weeks, and to be honest, I don't remember exactly where we left things off, but I have an update for you guys. I did finish reading The Blood Spell by CJ Redwine. Now, my feelings towards this book are complicated. I don't really know how I feel about it just yet. I finished it like a couple of hours ago, and I'm still trying to like untangle everything because I did like it. It was not a bad book. I actually enjoyed my reading experience, but I had a hard time reading it. It took me like 2-3 weeks, maybe more, to complete this book, and I don't know why, because the writing's good. I liked the characters. I enjoyed the romance. It was actually my favorite part about this book. Like at one point I actually cried because I just felt for these two characters so much, and I loved how everything came together in the end. But for some reason, whenever I stopped reading this book, I just wasn't compelled to pick it back up, and I think it says something. I just don't know how to put it into words, but I had to like force myself and start reading to like get back into reading this book, if that makes sense. I just never really felt like reading this book, but once I started reading, I was enjoying my time. So I don't really know what to say. I feel like this book was unnecessarily long. It's very descriptive. There's a lot of like talks about political games, and to be honest, I didn't care about all of that stuff. Like there's a lot of world building, and I think a lot of people will like it, but personally, as someone who doesn't read a lot of fantasy, I just honestly couldn't care about the world building and everything. And I feel like it took a while for things to get started at the beginning, and even towards the middle, I just felt like things were very slow, even though there were a lot of things happening at the same time. It's hard to explain, to be honest, but I don't know. I think it's a cozy book. I think it would be perfect for the winter time. I don't know why, but it gives off a fairy tale vibe that for me would be the perfect fit for winter. But I don't really know how I feel about it. Like, it's a 3-star. I think it's an average read for me. I liked it. I really loved the romance, and like I said, it was my favorite part of the book. But since it's not the major focus, for me, it wasn't something that completely fit. I did have a couple of issues with it, and I think it's mostly due to the fact that I'm not a big fantasy reader, and this one is really targeted towards like fantasy readers. The ending was really good, to be honest. Like, I feel like it picked up in the end, though I do feel like some of the things were too easy for the characters. Like, I feel like some of the things that should have been hard to figure out happened like really quickly. Nonetheless, I did like it, and I think if you're looking for a Cinderella retelling that will give you like your fairy tale vibe, this one is a good pick and would be perfect for the winter time specifically. So now it's time for me to start my next read, and that's going to be If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. To be honest, I kind of want a change of pace. I want something fun. I want something quick, lighthearted. I want a modern fairy tale retelling, so I think this one is going to be perfect. Yes, I have a physical copy of it now because it's been so long since I filmed anything for this vlog that the book is now out, and I have picked up a physical copy, so I'm very excited to get started. I think I've mentioned a little bit about this one, but basically it follows our main character Cindy, who I think is a shoe designer, and I don't really know what else is going to happen. I think she's going to enter like a bachelor like competition, but I'm not sure. She's plus size, that's all I know, and it's a Cinderella retelling, so I'm very excited to see what the author will have done with this, especially since it's Disney's first published romance. So I'm very, like, adult romance, I wanted to say. So yeah, I'm very, very excited and have high hopes for this one. Julie Murphy is a best-selling author who have never read anything from, but I've heard amazing things about her books, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I started reading If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy, and initially I was just supposed to read a couple of pages before I went to bed last night, but I ended up reading so much of it. I'm currently on page 112, and oh my god, I am completely obsessed with this book, and this has the potential to be a new favorite and like a 5-star read. I just didn't think I would like this as much as I am right now, not because I didn't have high hopes or anything like that, but I was afraid that since the characters are about 20 years old, I don't know, I thought it might be like too YA, even though it's technically adult, but so far it's really good. I am obsessed. I love the concept. Basically, we're following our main character Cindy, who is plus size, and she enters this bachelor-like TV reality show. Something that I really like about this is the family relationship. You know, in the original tale, the stepsisters and the stepmother are evil. Like, we're not supposed to like them. They're not likable. They don't have a good relationship, but it's quite the opposite in this one. Yes, like the stepmother and like the stepsisters are kind of vapid, and like they're a little bit like almost caricatural, but Cindy has a great relationship with her step family, and like I just loved seeing that aspect of things, because usually even in retellings we see them really hate each other, and like we see them mistreating Cinderella and stuff, but in this case it's like quite the opposite. Like, they're there for each other. I just love the family relationship and like the family dynamic. I also thought it was nice that the author kind of left little crumbs here and there. Like, the stepmother has triplets, and they're called Jack, Gus, and Mary, and those are the names of the mice in Cinderella. We also have like the names of like the characters that are like very close to what they would be if they were like in Cinderella. So we have like Anna and Drew for like the stepsisters. The last name of the stepmother is Tremaine, and well, Cindy, Cinderella. So there's a lot of similarities, and I really like that about it. And so far, like, I just love the TV reality aspect of things. I didn't think I would like it because I'm not a big TV reality person. Like, I don't watch that. I don't watch The Bachelor and all of those things, but I'm really enjoying this. It's so much fun to read. It's super funny. There's a lot of like moments that just made me like cackle and like laugh out loud, and I'm really loving this. Like, it was hard for me to put it down before I went to bed last night, and I'm really glad that I'm loving this. I also love the fact that fashion plays a big part in the book, because Cindy is joining this TV reality because she wants to like kind of boost her own brand. She designs shoes, and she sees this as an opportunity to maybe get a job or to, you know, get her creations seen on TV. So I'm really loving this so far. I'm quite curious to see how the relationship between Cindy and Henry, the prince, well, I say the prince, but like he's the equivalent of the prince. He's the bachelor. I'm looking forward to seeing their relationship evolve because so far they've had a couple of interactions and you can tell that they're comfortable with one another and they have chemistry, but there haven't been a lot of moments between the two of them, and I kind of want to see more of that. But yeah, so far it's something that I'm really loving and I cannot wait to continue reading. Alright, so time for an update. I did finish reading If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy, and I was right. This was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I ended up loving this book so much more than I thought I would. I just loved everything about this. I loved how fun the story was. I loved the characters. I fell in love with Cindy and Henry, and I just couldn't help but feel for them. You should have seen me reading the last like 50 pages of this book. I was a freaking mess. I was crying because I felt for them so much, and when everything fell apart, I just couldn't help but feel what these characters probably felt at that time. I just connected with this on so many levels, and I have to admit that some people said that this had like kind of an unsatisfying ending. Not unsatisfying, but like underwhelming, and I do have to agree on that front. I do feel like it was missing that wow factor that we had throughout the entirety of this book, but then the ending was kind of flat compared to the rest of the story. But other than that, like, it was absolutely incredible. I just loved everything about this. I loved the family relationships, like the dynamics between the stepsisters, Cindy, her stepmother, all of that. I loved everything. There's no way to describe this. I just loved everything about this book, and you guys need to pick this up if you haven't already. It is just so good, and I loved it. Like 5 out of 5 stars. It's hard for me to talk about it because I want to say things that might be spoilery, but I just loved everything. Like, honestly, the writing, the characters, the story, everything for me was a 5 out of 5 stars, and I need to read more of Julie Murphy's work because if it's anything like this book was, I'm sure I'm going to love everything else that she's written. So now that means we are ready to dive into our last book for this vlog, which is So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. So I'll be honest, I've already started reading this. I'm on page 44. So as I've mentioned in the introduction, the tagline for this one is, what if Cinderella never tried on the glass slipper? So the story picks up and it like starts off when Cinderella is on her way to the ball and she spends like her evening there, and then she runs away, and the next morning the Grand Duke is going like from house to house and trying to find the mysterious woman that the prince fell in love with by making them try on the glass slipper. But in this one, Cinderella does not end up trying on the glass slipper. So the Grand Duke comes to Lady Tremaine's house. Anastasia and Drizella try on a glass slipper, but it doesn't fit, so he leaves. So yeah, this is where things get started, I guess. I don't really know what else is going to happen in this one. I don't know too much about this, but so far I can already tell that I'm going to enjoy this. I love the writing. I think Elizabeth Lim has really nailed Cinderella as far as like the voice and like the character go. I feel like she really understands Cinderella's character, and I'm really looking forward to it. I did really enjoy Reflection, even though it was not my favorite. I did like it, and this one, like, I think is even one step further so far. Like, I really love this. I guess we'll have to see where the plot goes, but so far I'm quite interested to see what's going to happen, and I really love this so far. Like, I've only read 44 pages, but I have a good feeling about it. Alright, so time for an update on So This Is Love. So I'm on page 138, and so far I am absolutely loving this. So to give you an idea of the plot, because I don't think I really explained it well before, like, yes, it starts off with Cinderella and the ball and everything, and she doesn't try on the glass slipper, but what happens next? Basically, Lady Tremaine sells Cinderella to a very bad man who's supposed to take her far away, but Cinderella manages to escape, and then she ends up working at the castle. She's working for the king's sister who's visiting, and like apparently she's the freaking worst because she basically fires every attendant that the king sends her way, but Cinderella manages to work there, and that's her job basically. So a lot of the story so far has been Cinderella working at the castle, but still I'm finding this to be very enjoyable. I love the cast of characters. Like, obviously we have Cinderella and like the basic characters that we all know from the movie, so like the stepsisters and Lady Tremaine, though they're not in the picture as much since obviously she's working at the castle. There's a prince, and yeah, we have like the characters like the Grand Duke and all of that we know, but there's also new additions like the Duchess that Cinderella is working for. We also have a new friend that Cinderella encounters at the beginning of the story, and I don't know, I'm just really loving the cast of characters. I also like the fact that while this is told mostly from Cinderella's perspective, there are a couple of chapters that are told from different characters' point of view. So we had a chapter from the Grand Duke, we had a chapter from the prince's perspective, and I'm just liking the multiple points of view because Otherwise, I think it would not be as interesting. I think it allows us to understand those characters better because Cinderella doesn't have a lot of interactions with them. Like, she has some, but not as many as you would think. And since they're like crucial characters to like the development of the story, it's interesting to see what they think and what's going on inside of their head. The one thing that's kind of annoying, not annoying, but just like that I'm not, like, I wish there would be more of, is interactions between the prince and Cinderella, because this is supposed to be a love story between them, right? But so far they haven't really interacted. There's been like 2 interactions, like the one at the ball, obviously, and then one encounter at the castle, but like the prince did not recognize Cinderella. So there haven't been a lot of interactions between the 2 of them, and I kind of wish that there were more, but I'm guessing, like, I'm not even halfway through, so I'm guessing that there's still time for them to reach that point. But I'm really eager to see where the story will go from here. I'm really liking it so far, and I think it could be one of my favorite Twisted Tale books so far. So I'm currently on page 284 of So This Is Love, and I have about 100 and something pages left to read. And I don't know why, but the last couple of pages, like the last chapter, I felt like I was reading the ending. It felt like the happily ever after. So obviously something is going to go wrong, because as I've mentioned, there are about 100 pages left to the book. So there's no way that they would stretch out the ending into like a 100-page thing. So something's gonna happen, and I'm very excited to see what it is, because I'm very much enjoying this. I don't know why I'm so surprised, but I've been devouring this. It's such an easy and fun read, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't really know what else to say. Like, I'm having such a great time. I'm excited to see how things are going to end. There's only one thing in the last like bit that I've read that made me roll my eyes, but other than that, like, I really enjoyed the story as a whole. And as I said, this could possibly be one of my favorite Twisted Tale books so far. I have a feeling as to what is going to happen, though I cannot be 100% sure. But yeah, I'm excited to see where things are going to go. Alright, so I did finish reading So This Is Love, and I was right. Things went wrong before they turned right again. I had a lot of fun with this. Overall, I think it's a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot more than I did Reflection. I liked both, but to be honest, this one was better in my opinion. I just loved everything about it. I feel like the author did a really great job at keeping the atmosphere of the movie Cinderella while still turning this into a new story, something that we hadn't seen before, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the characters, I loved the romance, I just loved everything about this book, honestly. The only thing though is that I feel like the ending was a little bit all over the place. I feel like the last 100 pages kind of went everywhere, like a lot happened in a very short period of time, and sometimes I feel like things could have been better explained, and some things didn't quite make sense. Like, they would have taken more time to be developed, in my opinion. Like, everything felt a little bit rushed. But other than that, like, I did really like it. I really loved the turn that the story took. I feel like this was a very action-packed story for Cinderella. Like, usually there's not much to Cinderella itself, but this one had a lot of like unexpected plot twists, a lot of political intrigue as well. And even though like it was mostly following Cinderella as she went on with her life at the castle, like working there, I feel like it had a lot of things happen, even though it wasn't necessarily like action-packed. There was a lot of action for what it was. It's hard to explain it, but I did really like this one, and I would absolutely recommend it. If you guys haven't checked out the Twisted Tale series, this one is a good place to start, I think, and I really liked it. So overall, this was such a fun experiment, and I think I'm kind of reinforced in my idea that Cinderella is one of my favorite fairy tales to see retold. I think there's a lot of room to play with the Cinderella tale, and I just loved all of the books that I read in this vlog, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting to love everything. And we have like a 3 out of 5 stars, we have a 4 out of 5 stars, and we have a 5 out of 5 stars. So what would I recommend in the end if you're looking for a good Cinderella retelling? Well, I wouldn't recommend everything that I've read in this vlog, but it really depends on what specifically you're looking for in your retelling. So if you're looking for something that will feel like you're reading a fairy tale, then I would recommend The Blood Spell by CJ Redwine. I really liked this one. It was a fun story. I think it had an interesting take on Cinderella as well. The world building was incredible, a lot of political intrigue, and the romance was like just amazing. My favorite part of the story by far. And even though I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, I think people who love fantasy and who would want to read something that reminds them of a fairy tale, this one would be a very good pick. So if you're looking for something that will remind you of the original Cinderella movie, then I would totally recommend So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. I think fans of the movie will really like this one because it takes the original movie and gives it a different spin. Some of the characters are better developed, like the Grand Duke, the Prince. We see more of them in this book. It also has new characters, but it keeps the one that we know, like Cinderella, for example. To me, she felt very true to herself, like as what we've seen in the movie. So I think fans of the movie will really like this. If you're a Disney fan, this one is going to be for you. And finally, if you want a modern take on Cinderella, then look no further than If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This was absolutely everything, and I think even people who don't want to read a retelling should check this out if you like adult romances. It was incredible on so many levels. I had just so much fun reading it. Super bingeable if you're looking for something to bump your reading challenge. This one is great. Like, honestly, more people should talk about it. It had such amazing discussions about the fashion industry and the body positivity movement, and the family dynamics were really amazing in this. I don't know, I thought it was such a fun take on Cinderella, and I really liked what the author did with this. I think it kept a lot of the elements from the original, but it added like this modern take on it, which I really liked, and I just really love this one. It's by far my favorite that I've read for this vlog, and a new all-time favorite. Like, it's probably going to be one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. So that is it for my Cinderella reading vlog. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you prefer single reviews for the Twisted Tale books, like if you would rather have me read the book and have a reading vlog and a review, or if you like this type of video where I read multiple fairy tale retellings. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know which Twisted Tale you would like me to tackle next. But I guess that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!